The light was already on. That's the first thing she noticed. Not my face. Not the fact that the sheets were still perfectly tucked in. Not even the cold cinnamon candle I'd let burn down to the wick 6 hours ago. Her eyes went straight to the light switch. And then she saw me. Not in bed. Not pacing. Just sitting in the corner. In the rocking chair she bought for aesthetics. The one she said made the room feel less lonely. She flinched like she didn't recognize me. Like I was some haunted memory she thought she buried months ago. Then came the smell. God. The mix of his cologne, something woody and smug, and whatever cheap motel soap they offered for free. It hit me before she even opened her mouth. I didn't say anything. Not at first. I just let her squirm. Let her pretend she hadn't just walked into a crime scene where the only weapon was guilt. I thought you were asleep, she said, still standing in the doorway like she had an escape plan. One heel on, one in her hand. Makeup melted. Hair tousled in ways I hadn't touched it in weeks. You're late, I finally muttered. She glanced at her phone like time would lie for her. Client emergency, she said quickly, rehearsed. I pointed to the dresser. Her work phone, the one she left behind. Her throat bobbed. That's when I saw it, the twitch in her left eye. She always did that when she was caught in a lie and didn't know how to pivot. Years of marriage, and she still hadn't learned how to cover her tells. She stepped forward, and that's when she stumbled. Literally stumbled. Like the weight of her choices suddenly collapsed in her knees. But not because she was tired. Not because she was ashamed. No, she saw what was behind me. The envelope. The one I left half open on purpose. Just enough for her to see the Polaroids. I didn't hire a private investigator. I didn't stalk her. I didn't even ask questions. I just followed her. Once. Once was enough. What I saw? I can't unsee. What I heard? I can't unhear. And the man? The man she chose over a husband who baked her birthday cakes and massaged her temples when she had stress headaches? He drives a used Dodge and wears socks with sandals. And now she knew I knew. But the part that really broke her? I didn't cry. Not yet. That would have been mercy. And I wasn't feeling merciful. Not anymore. She didn't speak at first. Just stood there, eyes darting between me and the photos like she was trying to calculate how much I knew and how much I thought I knew. That's what cheaters do. They play mental chess the second they get caught. They don't apologize. They assess. They manipulate. They search for the weakest part of your heart and aim there. She bent down slowly, like the envelope might explode if she moved too fast. Her fingers trembled. She pulled one of the Polaroids halfway out, just enough to see the side of her own neck, kissed by someone who wasn't me. She didn't ask where I got them. That was the confirmation I didn't know I needed. I leaned back in the chair, not because I was calm, but because my knees had started to give out. I hadn't moved for hours. I'd just been waiting for this moment, replaying 100 imaginary conversations in my head, some where I screamed, others where I sobbed, a few where I actually forgave her. But in none of those did she look this hollow, this small. You followed me, she whispered. That's what she chose to say. Not I'm sorry, not please let me explain. Just that. Like I was the one who violated the rules. Like I broke some silent trust that she'd already shattered. I wasn't planning to, I muttered. I didn't even bring a jacket. I thought I'd just clear my head. And I had. For about 20 seconds. Until I saw her car parked sideways in front of a rundown motel called Larkspur Inn. There wasn't even an inn on the sign anymore. Just Larkspur. You'd think if someone was going to cheat, they'd at least have the decency to pick a place that didn't smell like bleach and broken marriages. She slowly sat on the edge of the bed, right next to the envelope. Her shoulders collapsed inward, like a balloon deflating in real time. And then she whispered something I'll never forget. He knows about you. My heart stopped. Who? I asked. Her fingers tightened around the photo in her hand. The man, the guy from the motel. He's not just a fling. He asked about you. He's been watching. Watching. My stomach turned. My skin went cold. I felt like someone had poured ice water into my veins. What do you mean watching? I asked, my voice cracking. Her eyes filled with panic, and that's when I realized she wasn't just ashamed. She was afraid. And not of me. Not of the fallout. Of him. Suddenly, it wasn't just a story about betrayal. It was a story with a shadow in it. A shadow neither of us had invited. Her lips moved like she was trying to form words, but couldn't find the ones that wouldn't shatter the air between us. The silence buzzed louder than anything she might have said. I was still stuck on what she'd whispered. He knows about you. It wasn't the kind of thing you said about a one-night stand. It wasn't even something you said about an affair. There was weight to it. History. He's been watching? I asked again, slower this time, as if the words themselves might change shape if I said them carefully enough. She nodded, but it wasn't the kind of nod that answers anything. It was more like a silent scream, like every motion was wrapped in panic. Her hands, those same hands I used to kiss after dinner, now gripped her knees like she was holding herself together. Her nails dug into her jeans, and I noticed they were chipped. She always kept them perfect. French tips. Salon regular. Something was unraveling, and it wasn't just us. He started coming to the office about 3 months ago, she finally said, voice so low I had to lean forward. At first he was just a client. Renovation project. Small budget. Weird taste. But he was charming. Not in the romantic way, at first. Just intense. Like he studied people. I didn't interrupt. I wanted to hate her. I really did. But the way her voice cracked made my skin itch. This wasn't guilt. This was fear. And then what? I asked. He started leaving gifts. Notes. He'd show up even when he didn't have an appointment. He always asked about you. By name. He knew where you worked. What your commute was. He made these comments. Said stuff like, must be hard being married to someone like Elwood. My heart felt like it shrank 2 sizes. Someone like me. What the hell did that even mean? You told him about me? I asked, sharper than I intended. She flinched. No, not at first. He must have looked you up or something. Found me online. I don't know. He started guessing things, and he was always right. He knew we had a mortgage. Knew you baked on Sundays. One time, he quoted something you said to me in a text. Something you said. Not me. I went cold. Absolutely cold. Like my blood stopped circulating. I looked over at the nightstand, where my phone was charging. I hadn't checked it since she got home. I picked it up. No missed calls. No texts. No notifications. But there it was. One message. No number. No name. Just a text. She told me you'd wait up. She's right again. I dropped the phone. Maribel saw it. Oh God, she whispered. He's already been here, hasn't he? My mouth was dry. This wasn't a love triangle. It was something else. Something sick. She didn't cheat on me. She got hunted. And now? Now we were both being watched. I didn't want to pick up the phone again. It sat on the floor like a cursed object. Maribel stared at it like it might start ringing, vibrating, breathing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from anger. No, I wish it was that clean. But from this nauseating cocktail of confusion, dread, and something I hadn't felt since I was a kid lying to my parents about breaking the garage light. Helplessness. I remember thinking, if he was watching us, had he seen us argue last week in the driveway? Had he seen me cry in the kitchen when she stayed late 2 Thursdays in a row? Had he watched me rehearse speeches in the mirror, trying to confront her, but never having the guts? Maribel pulled her legs up onto the bed and hugged them. I didn't tell him anything, she said, eyes locked on the window like she expected a face to appear at any second. He found it all on his own. I think he hacked something. I think he's listening. The phrase he's listening felt like poison. I stood up, suddenly nauseous. The cinnamon rolls still sat untouched on the counter down the hall, and for a brief moment, I fixated on that. Like some part of me believed if I could just rewind back to that moment, when they were still warm, when I still had hope, this would all reset. But I couldn't. The timeline was broken. Everything was after now. I need to know exactly what happened between you and him, I said, pacing near the window without pulling the curtain. My skin crawled at the idea of being watched, but I needed air. I needed a crack of the outside world just to remember I was still in it. She was silent. I turned to her sharply. Did you sleep with him? Her mouth opened, then closed. Her head dropped. And when she finally spoke, her voice was barely there. I didn't mean to. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I felt my insides twist. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask how, where, why, but those words felt like pebbles trying to stop a train. I needed bigger questions now. Bigger answers. Why did you keep seeing him after the first time? I asked. If you were scared, why keep going? She wiped her nose and stared at the wall. Because I thought if I stopped, he'd come for you. Those words hit harder than any confession. My knees buckled slightly. So you kept sleeping with him to protect me? I don't know what else to do, she snapped. He said things. About your job. Your mom's old address. He said he'd send you pictures if I stopped replying. That he had access to cameras. That nothing I deleted ever really went away. Her voice cracked again. He sent me a photo of your office window. Said you'd left your mug on the wrong side of the desk. How would he know that, Elwood? I didn't tell him that. I sat down slowly, my heartbeat crawling into my throat. This doesn't make sense, I whispered. Why would someone go to all this effort just to seduce you? Why target you? She swallowed hard. Then she looked at me for the first time with something different in her eyes. Not guilt. Not fear. Something that looked like recognition. Like she'd just remembered something. He said I reminded him of someone, she murmured. I frowned. Who? She hesitated. Then, his wife. The room went dead silent. He said I look like her. That I smile like her. That I used to laugh the same way before you made me stop. I stared at her. What? Maribel looked at her lap. He said I was wasting myself here. That you clipped my wings. I couldn't breathe. This man wasn't just stalking us. He wasn't just watching. He believed this was personal. And the worst part? Somewhere deep down, she might have started to believe it too. For a long time, I didn't say anything. I just listened to the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the soft creak of the house settling into its bones. I wanted to scream, but every part of me felt like it was stuck underwater. Like if I opened my mouth, all that would come out would be bubbles. My thoughts weren't racing. They were folding, collapsing in on each other like a dying star. Maribel didn't look at me again. She just kept staring at the floor like she was reading invisible instructions. How to survive the moment your husband finds out you betrayed him for a man who might not even be real. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the betrayal, or the possibility that this entire thing had been orchestrated by someone neither of us could even understand. I stood up. My legs were stiff. My mouth was dry. I walked to the hallway closet, pulled down the old box labeled taxes and junk, and flipped it open. Buried beneath receipts and expired warranty cards was my old laptop, the one I hadn't touched since I started working from the office full-time. I booted it up and waited, fingers twitching. What are you doing? She asked finally, her voice distant. Seeing if he left anything, I said. If he's been in our accounts, in our messages, in your devices, maybe he left a trail. I opened my inbox, not expecting much. But then I noticed it, an email marked as read, but not by me. A message I never opened. Sent 6 weeks ago. No subject. No sender. I clicked it. There was no text. Just one attachment, a photo. I hesitated, then opened it. It was our bedroom. This room. Taken from the outside. Through the crack in the curtains I always close at night. Except this one time. It showed me lying in bed, alone. Face turned toward the window. Mouth slightly open. Dead asleep. I dropped the laptop onto the bed like it burned me. Maribel rushed over and looked. Her hand flew to her mouth. He was here, I muttered. Not just watching us online. He's been outside this house. Then something even worse clicked in my brain. I opened my photo storage, the synced folder that automatically pulled backups from my cloud, even if I hadn't used the account in months. I scrolled through the timeline. And there it was. 2 months ago. A folder I didn't create. Named June 17th, Lake Elm. I opened it. Hundreds of images. Some of them were mine. Vacation photos. Me and Maribel. But others weren't. They were taken from angles I didn't recognize. Some from behind fences. Some through tinted windows. Some blurry, like they were pulled from security cameras. Then one image hit me like a brick. It was me. In my office. From behind. Staring at my screen. And behind me, in the reflection of the window, a shape. A person. Wearing a mask. Not a ski mask. Not a Halloween mask. A full, smooth, porcelain face. No mouth. Just hollow black eye holes. Standing inches from me. I gasped and slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding. My vision blurred at the edges. Maribel screamed and backed into the wall. I couldn't process what I had just seen. It was like my brain rejected it. Like it labeled it fiction to protect me from falling apart. That's not real, I whispered, shaking. That has to be edited. Someone faked it. But deep down I knew. That moment. I remember it now. The cold draft I thought was just the vent. The feeling that someone was behind me when I turned around too fast and knocked over my mug. I laughed it off. Blamed it on anxiety. On too much caffeine. But it wasn't nothing. He was there. He'd been there. And if he was this close for this long, he didn't choose Maribel because she looked like his wife. He chose her because of me. And somehow I had something to do with this. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember breathing. I don't remember anything between shutting that laptop and staring at the wall, wondering whether time was actually moving or if I had just slipped out of it completely. Maribel had stopped crying. Her silence was louder than anything. Like she was afraid even her breath might summon him. I turned to the laptop again. My hands were sweating. I could barely hold the thing steady as I opened it back up. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't not. It was like knowing there's something behind the curtain, and feeling your survival depends on understanding what it wants. The photo with the porcelain mask, I opened it again. Zoomed in. The reflection in the glass behind me was faint, distorted by the glare of the computer monitor. But it was real. I saw the curve of the mask, the black eye sockets, the tilt of the head like it was studying me. Calculating. Not threatening in the traditional sense. Just present. Patient. Then I clicked back to the folder. June 17th, Lake Elm. We'd never been to a place called Lake Elm. I assumed it was a location tag, maybe some metadata thing he'd messed with. But then I saw it, a second folder inside the first, labeled simply, Before. I paused. Maribel, who had finally moved to sit near me, squinted. What's that? I don't know, I said. I didn't notice it before. I clicked. More photos. But this time, they weren't of me. Or of her. At least, not at first. The first few showed what looked like a school. An old, brick building. Fenced. Abandoned. No students. No signage. The kind of place you might drive past 100 times without looking twice. The next image hit harder. It was a group of kids, maybe middle school age, standing in a circle in what looked like the schoolyard. There were 6 of them. 5 I didn't recognize. But the 6th, my stomach turned. It was me. Younger. Maybe 12 or 13. Bad haircut. Same ears. Same uneven posture. I stared at the picture like it was lying. Like it was one of those age regression tools that glitched and gave a false match. What is this? Maribel asked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I clicked to the next photo. This time, the kids were closer. Still in a circle. One of them, a chubby kid in a striped hoodie, was holding something. A box. The others were laughing. I wasn't. I looked like I was crying. The next photo, we were gone. Just the box now, open on the ground. Its contents spilled. Scraps of paper. A torn notebook. And next to it, something that made my hands go cold. A mask. A porcelain mask. The same kind. I slammed the laptop shut again. I don't remember this, I whispered. Maribel was pale. That's you. I nodded slowly. But what does it mean? I leaned back. My brain felt like it was on fire, trying to process fragments that didn't fit. I think I've blocked something out, I said. I think this didn't start with you. A horrible thought surfaced, like bile rising in the back of my throat. What if this wasn't about choosing us? I said. What if it was always going to be me? Maribel stared at me. Elwood, who is he? I couldn't answer. Because deep down, something was crawling back into my memory. Something I had spent most of my life making sure I never remembered again. I didn't want to open the folder. Every part of my body told me to shut the laptop, burn it, throw it in the river, and pretend it never existed. But I couldn't. Because deep down, I had a feeling this wasn't just about Maribel anymore. It wasn't even about us. There was something in the air, something old. A scent I couldn't place, like damp wood and forgotten secrets. It felt like I was getting pulled backward through time by a hand I didn't recognize, but one that clearly remembered me. I clicked on the folder. Inside, there was another one, titled Before. Maribel leaned in. Her voice was shaky. Before what? I didn't answer. I just opened it. The first few images didn't make any sense. A blurry shot of a red brick building, weeds crawling up the windows, a rusted basketball hoop hanging off a crooked pole. The kind of place that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. The next was a narrow hallway. Gray walls. Fluorescent lights overhead. Water damage. Then, a classroom. Empty chairs. Dusty chalkboard. Peeling linoleum. And then, a photo that made my breath catch in my throat. It was a group of kids. 5 or 6 of them, all standing in a loose circle in what looked like the schoolyard. Their faces were half-turned, laughing at something on the ground. It was the kind of candid shot that shouldn't mean anything to anyone. Except I was in it. Me. Not grown-up me. Not who I am now. A boy. 13, maybe 14. Skinny. Slouched. Same ears, same jawline, same nervous posture. Same eyes. I knew it immediately, even if I couldn't remember when or why. I stared at the screen like it had just accused me of something. Maribel leaned closer. Elwood, is that you? I don't know, I muttered, but even I didn't believe myself. More photos. The same kids. Different angles. One image showed a kid holding a white box. He was grinning. Another showed the box open on the ground, papers scattered in the dirt, notebooks, drawings, torn up folders. And right next to it, a mask. White. Porcelain. Empty black eyes. Exactly like the one from the photo in my office window. That's when something inside me shifted. Not like a memory returning. Not yet, but like a door in the back of my brain had just cracked open. Something creaked in the darkness. I clicked on the last image in the folder. It was darker, grainier than the rest. The hallway again. Same peeling walls. Same flickering light. But this time, there was a shadow at the end of it. A person, or what looked like one, barely more than a silhouette. Too far away to make out details, except the one thing that stood out like a scream in a silent room. The mask. It was staring at the camera. Not walking. Not moving. Just watching. And then something broke. Not in the laptop. In me. A flash. A flash of a basement. Concrete floors. Someone screaming. Laughter. That same porcelain face, closer this time. I gasped and dropped the laptop, stumbling back against the wall like the image had reached out and touched me. Maribel screamed. What happened? What did you see? I couldn't speak. I was shaking. My chest was tight. I think I know him, I whispered, eyes wide. I think I knew him when I was a kid. Her face turned pale. How? I looked down at the laptop, still glowing on the floor. Because I think I was part of something, I said slowly. And I think we did something bad. A long time ago. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I wasn't sure I was the victim anymore. He came back. Not with a mask. Not in the shadows. Not even in secret. He rang the doorbell. It was raining that night. I remember that clearly. The sound of the drops on the porch roof. Steady, hypnotic. Maribel and I had barely spoken in 3 days. Since I'd uncovered what really happened back at Lake Elm. The prank. The fire. The boy who disappeared from our middle school without a trace. I had barely slept. Not because I was afraid of what he'd do, but because I was afraid of what I might have done. But when I opened the door, I didn't see a monster. I saw a man. Older than me. Paler. Eyes too dark for the streetlight to reflect anything back. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, waiting. And I did something I never thought I'd do. I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, water dripping off his coat. Maribel stayed upstairs, but I knew she was listening. Watching. I led him to the kitchen and sat across from him. No masks. No weapons. Just two people with years of silence between them. You don't remember me, he said quietly, finally. I didn't, I replied. But I do now. He nodded. We talked for over an hour. About that day. About the stupid dare. About the basement we locked him in. The janitor never knew. The teachers forgot he was there. He spent a night in the dark while we laughed. We thought it was harmless. We were kids. But it changed him. He told me about the fear, the humiliation, the hatred that grew year after year. And how, when he found my name on an alumni list, everything came rushing back. I didn't want to kill you, he said. I just wanted you to know what it felt like. To be watched. Trapped. Afraid. And the truth is, I did know now. More than I ever wanted to. I'm sorry, I said. Not the kind of sorry you say when you're caught. The kind that breaks something open inside you. We were cruel. And I forgot you to protect myself. That's not an excuse. But I remember now. And I'm sorry. He looked down at the table for a long time. And then he cried. Not loud. Not messy. Just tears, quiet and raw. I didn't ask him to leave. He did. On his own. After finishing his tea. He never came back. Maribel and I spent months trying to rebuild. We had therapy. Individually. Together. We unpacked everything. The affair. The fear. The betrayal, the shame. It wasn't easy. Some nights I still wake up checking the window. Some days I can't look at my reflection without seeing the kid I used to be. But we're still here. She didn't leave. And neither did I. We planted flowers that spring. Cleaned out the garage. Baked cinnamon rolls again. The scent of them doesn't hurt like it used to. It smells like second chances now. Sometimes healing doesn't come in a scream or a grand gesture. Sometimes it comes in silence. And someone finally being seen.